Hello. Okay. I guess we're starting like that. We were supposed to start with a intro video. Can I get that video to play first, bro? Please.
Let me show you one more connection. In 1860, David Wyrick, he's a guy who surveyed the Newark earthworks. He was digging into a mound near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak. They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box. It was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by the way, is sitting in Ohio. Well, he opened up the box and he found a little man inside, a little black stone. They took it to scholars and they looked at it. The man seems to be carrying something, and there's writing here at first they couldn't recognize. The writing is, they thought in 1860, some sort of Hebrew. Well, finally, about 20 years later, they found some rabbis living in the area, and the rabbis looked at that, and they could read it. They said it was an old kind of block Hebrew, and it was a rendition of the Ten Commandments. Now, this is another piece. Block Hebrew, they said they'd never seen anything like it. Mainstream archaeologists at the time called this a hoax. But then in 1900, or just about after 1900, in Israel, they found the same block-style Hebrew writing. Mainstream archaeologists still dismiss the findings. They found it in Israel, and they found it in Ohio. But there was another stone that they found that they couldn't argue. This is the Bat Creek stone. It was found during the course of an official Smithsonian evacuation. The Smithsonian didn't understand the meaning of the writing on the stone. They thought it was Cherokee, since it came from Cherokee country. They didn't realize that it's actually Hebrew. They had published this originally upside down. They threw it in a box at the bottom of the Smithsonian, put it in the basement. Many years later, a scholar took it out of the box, looked at it, and went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. It's Phoenician, ancient Hebrew. So what's going on here? What is that about? Where is that history? I'll show you in a few minutes, and we're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to show you some more things that the Smithsonian, science, government, commerce colluded to erase. By the way, I want to thank the directors of the documentary Lost Civilizations of North America for bringing these stories to my attention. I was blown away. To find more, visit the website lostcivilizationdvd.com. Here's the thing we should be asking ourselves. I don't know the story of these. Do you know? Did you know that? Do you live in Ohio and did you know that? Why not? Were the American Indians wronged? Yes. Yes. And that's what we focus on in America, is we were bad to the American. Forget about it. It's in the past. The question should be the ones that the founders asked. Who are they? What knowledge do they have? Can you imagine the difference we would have now if we would put our differences aside and put our past in the past and concentrate on today and say, let's learn from each other. What do you have? What is that? What is that? When we come back, I'm going to be joined by Peter Lilback, who is, I've told you before, is one of my favorite authors. He's going to talk to me a little bit about the founders here. And I'm also going to show you some documents that show how that history has been erased.
I'll take it from here. Good evening, everybody, on this day of the sun. And thank you for tuning in to the Smoke and Mirrors on the big exclusive network. I'm your host, Poppy Montega. Tonight's show is going to challenge what you think you know, what you thought you knew, and who really is the enemy of Black culture. Now, before we dive in, I want you all to understand that this is a bunch of information that I came across on my journey trying to find out who are Black people. Who am I? You get what I'm saying? So, before we dive in, I want to go through some words with y'all because there's a lot of information that's going on tonight. Hey, how y'all doing? Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'm not going to really pay attention to to the comments until I get in, because I got a lot of information to give y'all. But to start it off, we're going to talk about my story, his story, and your story. Now, you don't have to take what I'm saying to be true. Feel free to look it up for yourself. This is the research that proves certain things to me and let me know that my particular doesn't come from the out of Africa theory. So can I get that first word from the vocabulary words up there, please? Slave. Understand the true meaning of slave. A person who is wholly subject to the will of another. One who has no will of his own, but whose person and services are wholly under the control of another. In the early state of the world, and to this day among some barbarous nations, prisoners of war are considered and treated as slaves. The slaves of modern times are more generally purchased, like horse and oxen. 2, one who has lost the poser or of resistance, or one who surrenders himself to any power, whatever, as a slave to passion, to lust, or to ambition. 3, a mean person, one in the lowest state of life. 4, a drudge, one who labors like a slave. Can I get the next word up there, please? Education. The bringing up as of a child, instruction, formation of manners. Education comprehends all that series of instruction and discipline, which is intended to enlighten in the understanding. Let me make this a little bigger. I'm straining, right? Y'all see me? I'm getting old. Ain't that mean you get old? Enlighten the understanding, correct the temper, and form the manners and habits of youth, and fit them for usefulness in the future stations. To give children a good education in manners, arts, and science is important. To give them a religious education is indispensable. And an immense responsibility rests on parents and guardians who neglect these duties. If y'all notice, this is from Webster's Dictionary, 1828, the original dictionary, before they started altering meanings. Can I get the next word up there, please? Utah. Some of you guys recognize this as the state, but read it closely. A U.S. territory organized in 1850 from Spanish Utah with a Y, name of the indigenous Uto-Aztecan people of the Great Basin, perhaps from Western Apache, Udaw with a Y, high. Okay, next word, please. American. Once again, this is in the original dictionary. American, a native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Can I get the last slide up there, please? Indigenous people, North and South, were displaced, died of disease, and were killed by Europeans through slavery. Remember that word, slave, slavery, rape, and war. In 1491, about 145 million people lived in the Western Hemisphere. By 1691, the population of indigenous Americans had declined by 90 to 95%, or by around 130 million. Now, what we're diving into is, are Black people really from Africa? That's what we was told in school. You know, they get us in elementary school and they tell us this story over and over and over and over again each year until it's programmed into our mind. Have us wearing dashikis, have us learning a culture that too is in ours. So I had a teacher in the 8th grade named Miss Coverdale. I went to Pickett Middle School. And on Fridays, well, first of all, we had 2 weeks after school started to purchase an African t-shirt that said Kwanzaa on it, and it had all the different days of Kwanzaa and the meanings and everything. And every Friday, if we wore this shirt, we got a quiz point. Well, 20 points towards a quiz. And we got an extra credit quiz based on Kwanzaa. Now, this particular teacher used to say some things that stuck in my head. One thing that happened in particular was, we used to beat on the desk as kids. And while she was writing on the board, and one day she just turned around. I was the peacemaker. I went to tell the class, calm down, y'all chill. She said, no, go ahead, keep beating on the table. Y'all can't help it. It's in your DNA. We all looked at her like, what? Okay. And she used to always say, claim your culture. And those two things just stuck out with me, right? So a little bit about myself. I was born into an older family, and I was raised in the church up until about 12 years old. And a big part of that separation came from I'm very intuitive. I have a lot of questions, and these questions couldn't get answered by elders in the church. I got reprimanded for some of these questions, but never got answers. So I started searching and searching and searching. So as I became an adult and I wanted to find out the true story, because if some of y'all haven't put two and two together, every nationality of people, their name is related to a part of the world, except for Black people. You know what I'm saying? The Asians is from Asia. The Europeans is from Europe. The Africans is from Africa. Canadians is from Canada. Jamaicans is from Jamaica. So forth and so forth. Where's Black at? Where's African America at? There's no such thing. So as I was digging into my past and remembering some things that I had asked my elders along my journey, I started connecting some paperwork and some records. And the only ones I could find that came here on a boat was all white. Now, I have some Irish in my blood. Can I get the picture of the Irish lady? This right here is my 5-time great-grandmother. Yes, my 5-time great-grandmother. Keep in mind, I'm not saying this is your story. This is my story, but yours ain't far off. This is the only picture that I could find of my family lineage that came here on the boat. Okay, you can take the picture down. Now, on my father's side, I trace my blood back to the Saponi Indian tribe, which is based in the Roanoke, Virginia section. On my mother's side, down to Savannah, Georgia, I trace my roots back to what's known as the Cherokee tribe. Now, diving into the Cherokee tribe, they're the most known tribe because they was the first ones to sign the peace treaty. And Cherokee wasn't the original name of this tribe. That's the name that they adopted after signing a peace treaty with the United States of America. Some of you may be a part of the Cherokee Nation. After diving into that, I found out that the original name of the Cherokee Nation was Aniyawayan. And Cherokee is actually a collection of multiple tribes to make one, because we was fighting with I don't want to say white people, but for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to address them as white people. We were fighting with the white people when they first started coming here to the lands known as America. So as I started diving deeper, I came across this information. Can I get that next slide, please? There were white slaves. They were white slaves. They were white and they were slaves. They don't tell us this part about history. You can take it down. And when I dove into slavery, I kind of understood what Kanye meant by slavery was a choice. I'll dive a little deeper into that a little later. But can I get the map up there? The map of a Mexum. If you look close, this is a map that a lot of the Moorish community use and pay attention to. It's called the North. It addresses America as Northwest Africa, a Mexum. And it addresses South America as Southwest Africa, a Mexum. Could you take that down? Now, the reason why that is because before the land that we now call Africa was called Africa, all this land was just Mother Earth. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't no name. We are of the land. The whole globe was our terrain. Okay? With that being said, what's known as North America and South America was considered the Northwest region of the land now known as Africa. Now, feel free to look into this. I encourage you to look into this. So with that being said, I then came across this information. Can I get the next picture up? In 1492, Native Americans discovered Columbus lost at sea. Now look closely at this picture. This is a fairly recent picture. This is from one of the protests, I want to say about 5-6 years ago. You can take it down. What that let me know was everybody knows except for us, Black people. The globe knows except for us, Black people. See, if you know any Africans, or if you come across any true Africans, which I know some of you have because most of my watchers are 30 and above. So I'm pretty sure you have encountered some true Africans. If you ask them if they ever heard of, white people coming and stealing us from their land, they'll tell you they never heard of that story. No, people from North Africa who come to the United States and become citizens, on their paperwork, they're listed as white Americans. Because see, black and white has nothing to do with skin color. And it only exists here in America. Now, I'm not saying people don't treat you differently because of the color of your skin all over the globe. But here in America, they make a lot of money off of racism. They make a lot of money off of fear mongering. And it took me diving into what the true story may be to find out this information. Can I get this first article up, please? This is something I came across deep diving, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to touch on this first big paragraph here. To many minds, the stories of myth were revived by these startling discoveries. Christopher Columbus even suggested that he may have discovered the original Garden of Eden. The Church of Rome recoiled at the notion. State authorities and historians of the age of reason, who had long dismissed myth as a conduit of knowledge, similarly dismissed the Americans as a site of significant ancient civilization, but did not the discovery of so vast and sophisticated an empire at America's heart required the rational sciences to at least consider these civilizations as an important link in man's cultural history. The Catholic Church and conventional science both answered that essential question in the negative. Can I get the next one up there, please? I'm going to touch on, without a doubt, civilizations in Americas go back farther than established dates for Mesopotamia or Egypt. 8,000-year-old mummies in Peru predate identically embalmed Egyptian mummies by 3,000 years. Residue of holy American tobacco, heard how I said that? Tobacco, because that's what they addressed it. Mind you, this tobacco was green, okay? But tobacco and cocaine recently discovered in 5,000-year-old mummies in Egypt and in the Sudan established evidence of contact between the old and new world thousands of years before Christ. The appearance of genetically American cotton in Asia 10,000 years ago, and evidence of coconuts, sweet potatoes, and the American parrot in the Pacific and in Asia 12,000 years ago all confirm a repeated worldwide contact of cultures that could only have been accomplished by navigation. Could you take that down for me? Now, if y'all followed along with me, you might see where I'm going with this. There's a reason why our story starts from the boat in school. There's a reason why they're trying to make us think and feel that we're from a far, far, far away land. But consider this. They are from a foreign land, right? So how could a foreign person or a foreign people go to a foreign land, take a foreign people to a foreign land, and then show them and teach them the lay of this foreign land if they too are foreign? Let me repeat that. How can a foreign people, pale people, go to a foreign land, Africa, and take a foreign people, Africans, to another foreign land, America, that's foreign to the both of them, pale faces and Africans, and teach them the layout and how to operate on a foreign land, America? Y'all make sense of that. Let's use common sense. Forget what we was told in school. Let's use common sense. Could y'all come in my house with a stranger and tell them where everything's at in my house? I don't think so. It sounds a little bogus. Sounds a little crazy. Now, you see, they said it predates Christ. We're going to dive a little deeper into that a little later. Can I get the next slide up, please? Here's something else I came across. We're going to touch on all the way up to the end of the blue. This tradition preserved by Herrera, excuse me if I pronounce some of these words wrong, Garcia and Charlvix, indicates a colony of Negroes or men painting black from South America. They might be the black Negroes of Curapa, mentioned by Dangria, or some other American Negro nation, of which 3 are many. See my account of ancient black nations of America. Dangria mentions 2 wild tribes. Ancient black America. Can I get the next slide, please? I'm going to start from Yet they had the knowledge of the languages, books, and affairs of Thoth that lie at Fortheth Defiance. How the great Atlantis, which we call America, remember Atlantis, this place that's lost, ancient civilization, they can't find it, it's somewhere buried below the ocean. Well, according to this ancient text, it says, how the great Atlantis, which we call America, abounded once in tall ships, how the people of Peru through the South Sea and Thoth of Mexico through the Atlantic to the Mediterranean Sea did both in 10 years, F pace, I don't know what that one means, make two great expeditions upon Bethlehem. You can take that down. It's a lot of biblical names being thrown around here, right? Slightly different spelling, but a lot of biblical names. My Christians especially know what I'm talking about. Can I get that next slide? I came across this. Ancient Greeks. Look like black people to me, don't it? Next one, please. Black Romans. Next one, please. More ancient Greeks. Now, you can take it down. Now, diving into that, I found out that the first kings of Eurasia, what's known as Europe, Russia, Asia, and all that now, were swarthy. Swarthy means black. The first Irish, the first Spaniards is even out for debate that Christopher Columbus may have been black. See, they whitewashed a lot of our history because it's a global law through the United Nations that a foreign people can't govern a foreign people on their land unless we willingly submit. Now, I'm going to dive into that real quick because we unknowingly, willfully submit to this by signing birth certificates. Okay? It's called a birth certificate. Your child is the precious cargo. Now, anyone, matter of fact, Shannon, your sister says she works on ships. So when ships come in and they dock, it's called berthing. You get what I'm saying? They birth. And before anything can come off of that ship, guess what the captain has to submit? Her certificate. You get what I'm saying? Birth certificate. So you unknowingly sign this precious cargo over to the state. The same people that tax us, the same people that manipulate everything that's going on right now. And if you don't know, a portion of our taxes go over to England, the Queen, you know, the Vatican and all that. Yeah, they run all this, okay? But I'm showing you how. Take it or leave it, but feel free to dive into this. Now, I also I came across this picture. Can I get the next slide, please? Yes, King James. King James that authored the Bible. Looks like a black man to me in this picture, right? You can take it down. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, when they came here, the way they stripped us of our culture was taking the kids away and placing them into these adoption systems where only pale faces could adopt native children. Okay. Based on my research, the only slaves were children and prisoners, the same way it is today. Nothing has changed but the language and the verbiage and the definitions of a lot of these words. It's all still the same. So, if I'm not mistaken, the first census was in 1790. When they did this census in 1790, they filled in the paperwork and it was carried out by what's now known as the U.S. Marshals. Okay. And when they went to our houses, our domains, our mounds, they determined that the oldest male in the household would be deemed head of household. Now I'm skipping a lot of information, but just keep up with me. It's a lot of stuff that we're cramming in here. But they determined that the oldest man in the house will be deemed head of household. And his wife, who's listed as a slave, and her occupation is housewife, okay, would be second tier. And everyone in the house would be listed as such with an occupation. That's slavery right there, okay? As for what they told us slavery was, I can't speak for your ancestors, but when I dove through my lineage, everyone that worked on the field, everyone that worked on the farm, everyone that worked on the railroads, they were compensated the same way you guys are compensated for your jobs today. It may not be worth what you're doing, but they were being compensated. Now, I don't know if any of you guys seen the movie Harriet. The beginning of that movie is pretty much how it went down. They had acres and acres of land, however they got it. But you know what? I'm not going to even skip that. I'm going to tell you how they got it. They came here. They was lost at sea. We seen them. We went out there and we got them. We went on their boats. We went on their ships. And they said we were smoking green tobacco. We know what that is. And we were kind of taken back by these strange looking people. And we brought them onto the land. Now, the wood that they built their ships with was not as good as the wood that we have here in Pennsylvania, right here in Pennsylvania. A lot of this starts right here. Is amazing. A lot of it is right here and we don't even know it. But the wood that we possess here is very rich compared to other wood in the world. And what they were doing was they were sailing here on their ships. They would chop their ships down and set up little camps, chop our trees down, build new ships, because our trees could sustain two round trips, where their trees only could sustain one. And when they would sail back and come back, we had killed off all their people that they left. You dig what I'm saying? So some of them ran up into the mountains and they're now known as hillbillies. And others ran into, feral land that we really could care too much for. But it's close to the Mason-Dixon, aka equator, and this is not their continent. So when the sun started hitting them, their necks turned red. And now we call them rednecks. You dig what I'm saying? I'm gonna give y'all the scoop. You dig what I'm saying? So they were the survivors, And when the people would come back, they're like, oh my goodness. So what they started doing was sending younger people over from Ireland, the AKA poor white trash, as they refer to them sometimes. They sent them first, and they were sending the children over. And as Black people, as natives, we have souls, we have hearts. We didn't kill the children. We took them under. We took them in. We mixed bread. We created what people believe Native Americans to be today. But anyway, fast forward. Once they got here in droves and we started fighting and brought their disease and everything, and they started killing us, we started submitting. All of our tribes signed the peace treaty and decided to be civilized, except for one tribe. That one tribe is the Seminole tribe. And the reason why they didn't sign their peace treaty, even to this day, they haven't signed their peace treaty. The reason why is because South Florida is nothing but swampland, and they deemed the land undesirable. So they pulled back and said, forget it. You dig what I'm saying? But anyway, I don't want to get too long-winded on that part. Fast forward it. They manipulated us out of our land. When the oldest male in the household went to war, whichever war you want to choose, a lot of us died. A lot of us got killed, which legally made our houses abandoned. So our women started depending on the government. I'm not going to dive down that rabbit hole because we all have our, outlook on that. But back on the King James thing. The Bible, from my research, is not to be taken in the literal form. It's metaphoric truth. It's a book of life. And we coded it for the days that we are in today. Can I get that slide about the slaves are kids up, please? Here's something I came across. 6 to 7% of slaves was 30 years and older, prisoners. 94 to 93% of slaves were younger than 30 years old, children. Could you take that down? Now, one thing I found out, the original meaning of adult was you couldn't become an adult until you had influence. You dig what I'm saying? So it wasn't about age. It was about how much influence you had, which is what determined if you was an adult or not. You dig what I'm saying? Like, a lot of this stuff is because the definitions of these words have changed. So we understand it based on when we was born into the game and nobody ever telling us what the original was. Let's go to their beginning. No, not that one. The other slide. The Egyptian gods. Africa. The Africans, they say, follow these Egyptian gods, right? Do we have that slide? Can we get the Egyptian gods up there? There we go. Now, I'm not going to go through the names. You guys can look at it. I'm pretty sure some of you are familiar with them. But notice a lot of them have the body of man and the head of an animal, some sort of animal. Can I get the next slide up? The information that they brought forth. Now, here's some of the gods and their names and what they were the god of to these Egyptians. Mind you, this is where we so-called came from, okay? Over in Africa. This is the information that these gods brought. You can take it down. Now, if you think about Native Americans, a lot of them have names with animals attached to it. I don't know if y'all can see, that's me right there. That's my Native American picture right there. That's me. And my Native American name, Powhatan Black Raven. Black Raven. I'm pretty sure if I went over to Africa and they put me in hieroglyphs, I would have the body of man and the head of a raven. Yes? No? Perhaps. Maybe I'm reaching. But what I'm getting at is I did some research on these Egyptian gods, and this information is hard to find. I found this information in a library. I can't remember the exact name of the book. It's actually somebody touches on it on YouTube too. I think his name is Karamu and Dane Calloway. These are two good guys to follow on YouTube for this type of information. But I dove into some information about where these Egyptian gods supposedly came from. And it said that they came from the fiery island of the west. The fiery island to the west of what's known as Africa. The only land to the west of what's known as Africa is Turtle Island. Now, I don't know if some of y'all know this or not, but from the top of North America to the bottom of South America, we have the most volcanoes in the world. Fiery Island. You dig what I'm saying? From the top of North America, Canada, to the bottom of South America and the surrounding islands, we have the most volcanoes in the world. Egyptian gods, Fiery Island. Can I get that Utah back up there, please? Now, Utah, right here, down at the bottom, I want you to focus on where it says Udah, Y-U-D-A-H, high, in reference to living in the mountains. You can take that down. Just keep that part about Utah in your mind, because a lot of things that they don't tell us about right here in America. Earlier, I touched on an article, and it mentioned Christopher Columbus saying that America was the Garden of Eden. Y'all know what the Garden of Eden stands for in the Bible, right? The Old Testament, right? Can I get the first animal up there? Did y'all know that the lion originated here in America? Can I get the next animal up there? Did you know that the camel originated in America? The camels that's down in Mexico right now migrated there. They weren't brought there. If you ask those people, they will tell you the camel has always been there. But they tell us camels are from where? Now, the American camel was known as the Camelot, and you see it's missing a hump because this land was very, as it still is, very vegetative. And what are we told the humps are for in the camel? For them to store water for their long travels. Can I get the next animal up there? Look at that. American hyena, running hyena. Distributed in Eurasia, North America, and Africa. Can I get the next animal? American cheetah. Oh, you thought it was only in Africa, didn't you? They don't tell us this in school, do they? American cheetah. Oh, man. It's getting good, ain't it? We closing in final 15 minutes. It's getting good, ain't it? Can I get the next one? You see the woolly mammoth in the middle, right? But what's before the woolly mammoth? Something else they don't tell us about, right? You can take that down. They don't teach us these things in school, right? If they did, you might think a lot different about right here in America, right? You might understand why them Africans never came back and got us. You might dig what the big secret is. You might get why they manipulating us into killing each other and fighting with each other and blaming each other while we stay crabs in the barrel. I heard that reference one time. I think it was Jay-Z that responded to it. And it blew my mind. It's crazy. It was so simple. The response was so simple, but it's like, people always talk about niggas acting like crabs in the barrel. Crabs don't belong in the barrel. That's the real issue. How did the crabs get in the barrel in the first place? The crabs are just being crabs. You dig what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff is perspective, man. Now I'm about to blow your mind. Can I get that tribe of Judah up there, please? Tribe of Judah. According to the Hebrew Bible, the tribe of Judah was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, named after Judah, the son of Jacob. Judah was the first tribe to take its place in the land of Israel, occupying the southern part of the territory. Jesse and his sons, including King David, belonged to this tribe. Now, us geeks and us historians know the letter J didn't show up until 1524 in Italy. We talking about way before 1524, right? So you take that J off, what you got? Utah, Utah, tribe of Judah. Is your mind blown yet? Can I get Exodus 33:1? And the Lord said unto Moses, depart and go up hence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt. Mind you, this wasn't called Egypt back then. Egypt means bondage. What are we in right now? We're in mental bondage. Brought up out of the land of Egypt unto the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying unto thy seed will I give it. You can take that down. Now, y'all remember what we just read on the tribe of Judah, right? The tribe of Utah, right? Utah, the Garden of Eden, the old world. Can I get that promised land excerpt up? The promised land. Where can we start here? Also known as the land of milk and honey, is the land which, according to the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, God promised and subsequently gave to Abraham and to his descendants. In modern context, the phrase promised land expresses an image and idea related both to the restored homeland for the Jewish people and to the salvation and liberation. Take that down, please. Jewish, not the true Jew. Now remember the video that we started this off with, right? They're finding ancient Hebrew here in America that predates the Hebrew over in Israel, right? Now, the Israel that they're telling us in the Bible is this Israel. Can you post this up, please? The state of Israel, founded in 1948. Jesus been dead, ain't he? You can take that down. Now you got to realize, when they civilized us, when they gave us education, it initially wasn't through schools. Remember, we hadn't yet built the schools. They civilized us through religion. They civilized us through Christianity. They programmed us with education through religion, which is why all of our elders hold so strong to that Bible. You understand? This is why they hold so strong to that Bible, because That's the programming that was passed down to them. But think about your elders telling you, oh, your grandma got Indian in her family. Your grandpa had hair down to his booty. He braided up and all that. What happened to the Indian in your family? It just magically disappeared? No, we was always here. They came here and wrecked our brain. The floor is now open. Does anybody have any questions, any concerns? Let's talk about it. My truth doesn't have to be your truth, but I'm pretty sure your truth has been challenged. You said, how do you remember? Because this is, let me tell you, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. I always had a bunch of questions, right? And my father said, you know what? I got something for you. Mind you, my dad was born in 1939, RIP. This package came one day from QVC. I have notes right here, though, just so you know. But this package came one day from QVC. And I couldn't open it until Saturday. Saturday morning came. He said, go on and open them packages. Guess what it was? A bookshelf and encyclopedias. So he had me put the bookshelf together. And then from that day on, when I said, Dad, how come or why? He said, go over there and grab that encyclopedia. And then one thing just led to another and so forth and so forth. You know what I mean? I see what you said. You said my truth is the truth, but I don't like forcing it on people. You know what I mean? Because it's going, I know that information just made some people, they sitting there with their jaw on the floor right now. You know what I mean? But I really encourage everybody to dive into this information. You know what I mean? I really want y'all to dive into this information and ask questions. What did we practice before Christianity? Because it seems the Bible is just tool control. Spirituality. I'll actually do a show on that. This is leading into a series of shows, and I'm going to dive into what my research tells me is the true way to pray, is the true way to manifest, is the true way to heal. You know what I mean? Before they gave us this medicine that just strings us along. But to end this off, and you know what, if we can, after this video, I'll stay on and we can talk some more about it. But I want to end this off on time. Is a video that I want to show y'all, because remember what I said, a lot of our history was whitewashed, and a lot of it is right here in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia. Can we get that video up, please?
Greetings, I'm your host Red Tail. Welcome to an introduction to the Mound Builders, the first in a 4-part series entitled An American Deception. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Brown-skinned people, from very light to the darkest of dark, have existed in the Americas continuously for many thousands of years. Writer Jack Forbes, in his book Africans and Native Americans, said, many, but not all, Native Americans were brown or dark-colored without African ancestry. These brown-skinned people lived here long before the dawn of European civilization and the arrival of the European settlers. When the Europeans arrived to the shores of the United States, they encountered a culture of people that became known as the Mound Builders. Mound Builder is a general term referring to the indigenous inhabitants of North America who built various styles of earthen mounds for burial, residential, and ceremonial purposes. Here you see a sampling of mound sites that have been discovered in the United States. These mounds are primarily visible from the Mississippi River to the Appalachian Mountains, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. Most are located along rivers and streams which the Native Americans used for provisions. The most modern Native American cultures have been divided into three eras. The Archaic era, from 8000 BCE or before the Christian era to 1000 BCE. The Woodland era, from 1000 BCE to 1000 CE or the Christian era. And the Mississippian era, from the years 1000 to 1700. And there is evidence of mound builders in all three eras. The mound builders have been attributed to building four basic types of mounds. The most common mounds are the conical mounds. Conical mounds are mounds that are cone or oval shaped. Many of these types of mounds were for burial purposes. Burial mounds ranged in height from 3 feet to 25 feet, and the remains were probably of someone of importance in the society. Conical mounds that weren't burial mounds can have heights up to 70 feet. The second type of mound is the earthen mound or earthen lodge. This type of mound usually had a fire pit in the center and was used for important meetings amongst the chiefs. The Europeans, after their arrival, utilized these mounds by turning them into their military forts, amongst other things. The third type of mounds are effigy mounds. Effigy mounds are mounds that are in the shape of animals, symbols, religious, or human figures. These mounds may have served as territorial markers or enhanced sacred ceremonial ground where people met for major events. Modern Native American shaman or spiritual healers suggest that the effigy mounds enhanced the power for healing and communication with the ancestor spirits. The last type of mound is the platform mound. Platform mounds or temple mounds are flat-topped mounds which were used to house temples for the leaders, for ceremonial purposes, sometimes for residences, and sometimes for survival needs such as observing up and down the waterways for unwanted visitors.
Welcome back. Even here in Philadelphia, there are remnants of these great and ancient structures. I stand now at the steps of Philadelphia's famous landmark, the Philadelphia Museum of Art. But did you also know that this historic location, which the museum now occupies, was once called Fairmount by the colonial settlers? Up until the time of colonial settlement, this land belonged to the indigenous Americans. And if the mound would have remained undisturbed, it would have been classified as a platform mound today. In 1812, an engine house was built at the bottom of Fairmount to pump water from the Schuylkill River to the top. This later became known as the Fairmount Waterworks. In 1919, the mound began its most recent transformation into what is now known as the Philadelphia Museum of Art. You have just finished watching the first in the four-part series entitled An American Deception. For more information, please email us at anamericandeception@gmail.com.
Now, that's smoke and mirrors, everyone. But we're going to carry on, though, because I definitely want to entertain some of the questions and the conversation that you guys may have. Now, see, the way my mind works after seeing that video is what's in the basement of the art museum? What's in the art museum? You dig what I'm saying? Like, most people is like, wow, oh my God, it was a mound. And I'm thinking like, all right, what's in there? You know what I mean? Because it wasn't just a pile of dirt. You dig what I'm saying? But can I see the comments, the questions? Come on, bring them in. Let's talk. Let's build, people. Break down the Kanye comment that slavery was a choice. Okay, so just like today, when you want a job, you go fill out an application. A lot of this slavery was occupation. It's just that what's now known as your boss and your manager and district manager and all that was slave masters back then. And they were a little meaner. You dig what I'm saying? No problem, Mr. Vincent. I thank you for tuning in. They were a little more evil. You know what I mean? A little harsh. It was certain laws that didn't exist. People got their way differently back then. But as you've seen, we too were slave masters. So I know some of you may listen to Nas, and he says in one of his songs, I can't remember the song right now, but he says we're the slave and the master. That's what he means by that. Because human, the word human is in itself a word that we don't know the true etymology of. The word human is actually a compound word. It's Hueman. M-A-N. Hueman. You know what I mean? Now, don't you see that word completely different? You know what I mean? That you see that it includes the globe. Everybody is a different hue. You know what I mean? Human. So like divide and conquer. That's exactly what has happened over time. You know what I mean? Through race, religion, so forth and so forth. But back to the Kanye comment, you choose to go to work. You choose to subscribe to their way. Even after people like myself pass along this type of information, a lot of people going to wake up tomorrow and continue on with the programming. It's like, oh man, he dropped some bombs. That was good to know. But this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? So that's what he meant by slavery is a choice, in my opinion. Yes, hue is shades of color. Yeah, but this is the thing. Before they created currency, we traded goods. You know what I mean? But remember, I told you it was some selfishness going on. If you remember the beginning of the movie Harriet, when the contract for indentured servitude was up, the white family came up and said, hey, boss, 2 years is up. They signed the contract and it was free to go. The black guy was like, hey, boss, it's about 3 years past my contract. He said, get your ass back to work, nigger, and ripped his contract up. That's how they was doing us. You know what I mean? Like, I've skipped through a lot to fit it in an hour, but it's a lot in between that they broke down. Exactly, Miss Lillian. Now, I'm not saying don't work. I'm not saying don't go to school, but have a plan with that. You dig what I'm saying? Because we all know college is a trap. Most people that go to college end up working with the person that didn't go to college. Not all, but most. Because you go to college and then you go to get a job and you need experience. And it's like, how am I gonna get experience if y'all don't hire me? Like, if nobody hires me for the job, how am I going to get experience? So what are you forced to do to pay those bills? Settle for the job with the same person that didn't go to college, or get a higher title so you can feel better about yourself and be an assistant manager. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, you say 2-3 times a week? I don't know. It's a lot. I put a lot into this show. I really do, Miss Waller. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Yes. Because I mean, think about it. Anybody out there that is an entrepreneur, if you are doing it the right way, and I'm not speaking down on nobody because I had my share of fuck ups. You know what I mean? I'm just getting it together. But if you are sticking to the script and doing it the right way, don't you feel a lot more free, a lot less stressed out? If you don't want to be to work at 8 o'clock today, you ain't gonna get fired. The work's still gonna get done. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's true freedom. Heaven and hell is right here on earth, and it's all created with your mindset. You know what I mean? Yeah. Any other questions or comments, statements? Let me know. I'm ready. Y'all got me going. Thank you, Miss Aisha, Miss Waller. And that's what it is. Big exclusive, bro. That's what it is. But what most of us do is, being as though we aren't taught this, and our elders are teaching us a system that's fucking them right now. You dig what I'm saying? They're telling us to follow a system that's fucking them right now. That's why a lot of us can't get it. We'll try, and then as soon as we have an excuse to not do it, we give up. and we want to go help somebody else make their dream come true. You know what I mean? As far as like getting a job. Chick-fil-A ain't worried about them people. Yeah, they take care of them. But at the end of the day, that's about Chick-fil-A getting money. If somebody that works at Chick-fil-A, the only way they can really grow by staying with Chick-fil-A is get a Chick-fil-A. Other than that, how's it transition over to life if you want to leave? It doesn't. How can you travel at will? You got to time it around Sundays. You dig what I'm saying? Whereas though, no, hell is in your mind. Hell is in your mind. Heaven is in your mind. God and devil is good and evil. You dig what I'm saying? It's all mindset. It's all mindset. Yes, bro. Yes. Yes. And it's designed that way. Y'all ever seen the Lego movie? Y'all seen the Lego movie, right? The main character of the Lego movie, that's all of us. If you didn't see the Lego movie, I know you might, oh, that's for kids. No, it's not. No, it's not. The main character in the Lego movie is all of us. Remember, one morning he just woke up and was like, I'm not going that way. I'm going this way. I want to see what that light was. And it threw everything off. It threw everything off. You dig what I'm saying? Let you call out tomorrow and don't give enough heads up. You dig what I'm saying? But do they give you heads up when they don't want you working there no more? Not at all. When you don't want to work there no more, you gotta use your PTO, your vacation time, and all that. Give 2 weeks notice. When they want you gone, could you clock out, please? Your service is no longer needed. Come on, man. Come on, man. And I'm not talking down on nothing that nobody's doing. This was not to make nobody feel bad about what you are doing. If you are doing it and it's working, by all means, keep doing it. I'm just letting you know, if you're making that work, imagine what you could make happen with the real. If you're making the system work, imagine what you can make happen with the real. You know what I'm saying? They scared us with this whole Illuminati thing. You know what Illuminati means? Illuminated. I just illuminated a lot of y'all. Exactly. But we gotta do what? Unfortunately, we weren't taught about credit in school from our parents. Yes. Now I'm just learning that debt is good. You need debt to come up. I was heavy cash boy in the streets. You know what I mean? I just pay cash. Fuck my credit. You know what I mean? No. I'm lucky to have made it out without spending a lot of time in jail and with my life and no holes in me. But at the same time, it's like, bruh, now I gotta fix my 20s. Oh, Big Roll, that wasn't the first black president. We can get into that another time. That was, I believe, number 4. Might have been number 3. But yeah, that's some more smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of that. Yeah, it's a lot more to dig into as far as some people they're passing off as white that was really black. Yes, they do. That's why your social security number is your EIN number. You dig what I'm saying? When you sign that birth certificate, when you sign your child over to the state, that child becomes a corporation issued with the EIN number. issued with a social security number. And that stock is worth $5,000 initially. And they trace what you do, what that child does by numbers all throughout school. They build prisons based on fourth grade male test scores. They can tell from the test scores of fourth grade boys how many prisons need to be built by the time those fourth grade boys turn 18, which is what, another 8 to 10 years for most fourth graders? It's all calculated. That's why, if y'all can remember back when you was in school, for this, in this particular house or this particular floor, it was 1, 2, 3 different fifth grade classes, 3 different sixth grade classes in each tier. And you may be with a certain group of kids, and then all of a sudden, the third year, 2 or 3 kids in another class. It was all based on your scores and your performance. They either went down to the 80 and below class, or they went up to the 80 and up class. You dig what I'm saying? It's tiered based off of numbers. You know what I mean? So all those homeworks and it all adds up each quarter, and they determine which direction to manipulate the child, because the system is already set up. So everything I'm saying right now, if I would have been speaking like this and had a college education, then I would be considered educated. But being as though I did this on my own, I'm considered intelligent. You dig what I'm saying? Like it's like the word play and all that is crazy, but you won't know unless you actually dig into it. And manipulation, yes, manipulation. Exactly. In my school, they separated us in houses: A house, B house, C house, D house. D house was for LD, learning disability, and people that was in wheelchairs and in-house suspension. Everybody was down in that little hallway. You know what I mean? And then it was straight on up. This is how they do it. You notice all the projects got brought down, right? Because the project is over. The project is over, and now they're building high rises, and all these white families that was out in the counties and all that, their descendants is coming down to the city. And all our family that want help from the government, they putting us out into the counties now. The project over. It's always been a plan. It's always been calculation, and it's always been based on us not knowing who we are. You dig what I'm saying? It's always been based on that. It's always been based on us not knowing who we are, because that's the only way this whole plan goes on. So that's why my perspective on all the rioting and all that was slightly different from everyone else's. My perspective was, all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter now. We were so busy talking about, you shouldn't be tearing up your neighborhood, this and that. I get that. But it was a bigger picture at this time. You got to realize how long this been going on. You think your ancestors give a fuck about your store? You get what I'm saying? All of a sudden, Black Lives Matter. And it's because we was about to start fighting for real. This shit was about to be over. You get what I'm saying? The Black community was starting to listen to people like me. We weren't so crazy anymore. They weren't conspiracy theories anymore. You get what I'm saying? So what happened? The white people start wearing dashiki, start getting down on their knee, putting their fists up. Hold up. We've been doing that for 5-6 years now. Now y'all understand? All of a sudden? Come on, man. Y'all got to stop letting the news and the television manipulate your vision. Stop telling your vision. You dig what I'm saying? It's called television programming for a reason. It's called that for a reason. Radio programming, television programming, the airwaves, energy, frequency, positive, negative. It's not just named that just cuz. All this stuff has connection. And if the more you understand, the more foresight you develop. Poppy, answer this for me. Because the jig will be up. Could you imagine if everything I just said throughout this podcast, could you imagine if it was heard by as many people that hear the Breakfast Club? It's people in office that would be like, oh, hell no. No, big role. That's what I'm saying. That was the whole everything, bro. That was the whole everything. They was allowing people to die in the hospitals and everything, bro. That's why a lot of people was rioting too. A lot of our family was up in them hospitals and wasn't getting treated, and we couldn't visit them. We couldn't have proper burials. They was dying up in them hospitals and they was putting them in mass graves. While the nurses and doctors was doing TikToks and stuff. Come on, bro. People that feel like you was out there too, bro. That's what I'm saying. You got it's bigger than what you in particular believe. Like it's all of us, bro. No, I get it, and I feel you, bro. But I'm telling you, it's a wider arrangement. It was set up for a lot of us to die. A lot of us. And with the television programming and the movies and the music, guess what? We doing it for them now at a high rate. Not only are we doing it for them, it's the kids. So that's going to cancel out a whole generation. You got to look ahead. Look at the states that they trying to take away abortions in. That's because a pure white race is about to be no longer. You dig what I'm saying? They're trying to cancel out a generation of us and preserve a generation of them. Whereas though our women want to argue about my body, my choice, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. Black woman, they want you to keep popping out babies. Black woman, that's what I'm saying. White and black has nothing to do with skin color. It's all about who know and who don't know. It's all about who has and who don't have. That's what it's about. If we wasn't in the hood, we would have a whole different perspective on this. That's why you got some black people down south that walk around with the Confederate flag. That blew my mind at first, and then I dove into that. You know why? Because when we was fighting alongside the Confederate, all the white battalions was getting knocked off. The all black battalion was rocking the flag that's now known as the Confederate flag. That's why some of us are looking at them like, yo, them black people delusional. No, they holding it down. For real, for real. It's a lot of stuff they don't tell us. They just make us feel a certain way. Yes, for sure. Your surroundings play a role in your beliefs, for sure, for sure. Here's another one I'm gonna give you. You know, but let's take Hitler. Let's take Hitler. What represented his movement? The swastika, right? The swastika was one of our symbols. All he did was turn it to the side a little bit. It represents 490-degree squares, 360 degrees, knowledge of self. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Let's go. But what did they teach us about Hitler in school? Hitler was trying to preserve his people. He was trying to preserve from happening to them what happened to us. That's the part they're not going to tell us. And you notice they refer to them as Jewish. No, I feel you. I feel you. You would be out of pocket for your people. Why we not out of pocket? Why we not out of pocket? That's what I'm saying, bro. This is all the programming. Why we not out of pocket? We out of pocket against each other. He was Jewish. They teach us what's going to keep them on their side, what's going to keep us backing them. You see, the whole globe done turned against us already. Did you know that the United Nations Constitution, not American Constitution, I'm talking about the Constitution that trumps our Constitution. It states in the United Nations Constitution that everyone has a right to a nationality and to change his nationality at will. Look it up. How is that possible if you black and he white? How is that possible? It's because none of that really exists. All of it is bullshit. But we unknowingly subscribe to it, and we so deep in it now that even the people that's handing you the paperwork don't even know. They just was taught a job. Have them sign this out, and then you put it in this file cabinet and make sure you log in all the information and send me an email. Okay. No, you got to sign it. You can't leave until you sign it. That's all they know. That's all they know. We don't even dig that the lowest level of policing is sheriff. Police officers are public servants. That's why the ticket already has a signature on it. Come on, man. I'll save that for another episode, though. I'll save that for another episode. We got any more questions, or we going to wrap it up for the night? All right, well, I'm Poppy Montega. Below, you see my entertainment website. We get out of pocket with each other faster than we do with those who oppress. That's the program, and it comes down to them. Exactly. Miss Wally, you with me. You with me. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's programmed like they want us to be angry. I'm gonna tell y'all this one more jewel, and I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna tell y'all this one more jewel. Some of y'all heard of DMT, right? Some of you are only aware of DMT being a drug or something that you purchase. DMT is a chemical that we produce naturally. Okay, DMT is that chemical that gets you high, that makes it enjoyable to bite into that cheeseburger, that makes it enjoyable to drive fast. Like when you're doing something that gives you that adrenaline rush, your mind is releasing a chemical into your body called DMT, and that's what drives you to do it again and again and again and again. Okay, DMT also is released when you think of things negatively. So when something upsets you and you just keep thinking about it over and over and over and over, you release the negative version of DMT through your system. A lot of back pains and neck pains have to do with your state of mind. You dig what I'm saying? That's where the term "you a pain in my neck," that's where it comes from. You dig what I'm saying? You a pain in my neck, you a pain in my back. You know what I'm saying? People could your fat Gene. If you go to get your feet rubbed, people could rub a certain part of your feet and it release pain. Yes, in all of us. Now, DMT also, some of us unfortunately seen our elders or even people that may have been shot or something on their deathbed, and they start calling for people that already passed away. Like they start hallucinating. That's the DMT. You dig what I'm saying? That's what's not allowing them to feel pain. You know what I mean? So you can really see in the people that's passing away slowly. You really can see the dementia setting in. That's the DMT making it a pleasant experience. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what it's for. You know what I mean? So they play on that with television programming, with the music and stuff like that. Because, I just turned 38. So when I was in the streets doing my thing, it was Jeezy, T.I., DMX, you know what I mean? When it was time to ride on something, I put on some DMX or some Tupac. You know what I'm saying? And it got me, bro, I was killing myself. Didn't even know it. You know what I mean? So imagine what's happening to the masses with just the DMT. Now you take into effect the food that we're eating that's not real food, and the air, the pollution. Like, it's so much stuff that's working against us that we got to really get in tune with who we are to prolong this experience. What was that last comment? Can you post that joint back up? Exactly. Guess it was time for. Yes, Miss Waller, and I really appreciate your energy. No, ain't nothing wrong with it, Angry OG. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Thank you, Miss Lillian. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your ears. I appreciate all you guys. Tune in next Sunday. We got a nice show lined up for you. I'm not going to even drop no hints on it. Tune in tomorrow for Keeping It Real with Big Roll. Tune in Tuesday, I believe, at 7 p.m. for the Big Exclusive podcast. Keeping It Real with Big Roll is 9 a.m. I ain't going to hold you. I'll be up like 6:30 scrolling through the YouTube on the TV every morning. And we'll talk about, I'm going to leave that for your show, Big Roll. But anyway, I appreciate all y'all tuning in. I hope you guys learned something. Feel free to play it back for your kids, your friends, your youngins. Share, like, comment. Feel free to inbox me. And I appreciate y'all tuning in to Smoke and Mirrors on the Big Exclusive podcast. I'm Poppy Montega. We out.